This is an archery blunt, a type of wooden arrowhead that's been used for centuries for stunning small game and birds, and also for use during practice. I first saw arrowheads like this on medieval manuscripts. This is the lateral salter, showing archers under instruction practicing at the butts, and notice the arrow tips. They're all wooden blunts. So it got me wondering, how were these things made all those centuries ago? And I thought maybe they were made on something called a pole lathe. The origin of the pole lathe is lost in time. It's an ancient form of wood-turning device powered by a spring pole and foot treadle. They have been used for centuries to turn chair and stool legs, tool handles, candlesticks and even wooden bowls. So I set myself the task of figuring out how to make wooden arrow blunts on a pole lathe. But my first task was to actually build a pole lathe, and I did this using scrap materials from the shed and timber extracted from woodland and hedgerow. And so began days of practice, of trial and error, of mistakes and small improvements. I prepared wood blanks on the shave horse and worked them on the lathe, experimenting with both seasoned and green wood and learning how to handle the chisels. But when I began to make progress with the blunts, I ran into a new problem. So that's the basic shape of an arrow blunt. So I've proven to myself that it can be done on a pole lathe. But there is a problem, and it's this. When that hole's drilled, it's almost impossible to get it absolutely concentric. There's no easy way of gripping this sort of egg-shaped piece of wood. So if the hole is not drilled absolutely straight, then, just to exaggerate it, you get this effect. It's not especially easy to see on camera, but effectively a misdrilled hole in the back of the blunt creates this action. It wobbles. And surely that, when the arrow's flying, will disturb its course. So my problem is how to get that blunt absolutely concentric, so that when it's mounted to the shaft, it sits absolutely straight with no wobbling. So for my next attempt to recreate medieval arrow blunts on a pole lathe, I'm going to pre-drill my blank of wood in the end here and insert a mandrel, in fact a piece of a 1/2 inch arrow shaft. It'll look like that when it's finished and ready to be put on the pole lathe. I hope by doing it this way it'll enable me to turn the arrow blunt around the shaft itself, giving me a better balanced arrowhead. But first I'm going to turn down this cylinder of green alder so it's a little closer to the diameter of a finished blunt. So that's my green alder now turned down into a crude cylinder. Now for the hole. So now I have my green alder blank turning upon a piece of a 1/2 inch diameter arrow shaft. Let's see if this works. So that seems to prove that this technique of turning the arrow blunt around a piece of arrow shaft does work. The results are excellent. This one's a little oversized, but I've bound it with artificial sinew, so maybe it does look a little more like the originals. All I've got to do now is get quick at it and good at it. So that's my adventure into woodworking on a pole lathe, a quest to see whether or not it's possible to manufacture archery blunts on a pole lathe, maybe as they did centuries ago. Of course, I've proven nothing historically, but I didn't intend to. This has just been a light-hearted experiment, and if there was such a thing as a guild of master wooden arrowhead makers, my efforts would certainly fail to have gained me access. But these insignificant pieces of wood at the end of arrows perhaps have a bigger part to play in the history of archery than I realised. Maybe they were used by longbow archers practising at the butts in preference to expensive wrought iron arrowheads. Maybe they were used by hunters far more than we can now know. And maybe they were made in their tens of thousands. And maybe they were made on pole lathes. Interested in seeing how the iron, and if you're interested in seeing how the iron, and if you're interested in seeing how the iron, and if you're interested in seeing how the iron counterparts to this arrowhead were made, and if you're interested in seeing how the iron counterparts to this arrowhead were, and if you're interested in seeing how the iron counterparts to these arrowheads were, and if you're interested in seeing how the iron counterpart to wooden arrowheads were made, check out this video.